So today we thought it would be a good idea to talk about dating.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have some points that we wanted to kind of go over with you guys and just kind of, bring you guys in on, what women in our age range.
Yep.
Is it age range? In our age?
In our
box?
category?
In our box? The idea of courting. So
Okay.
when you hear the word courting, what does that mean to you?
Well, it means like you're not dating yet, but someone wants to date you. So they're literally going like letting you know that their intention is that they want to date you. So like going out on a date or inviting you out somewhere or just talking with them and getting to know them and saying like, okay, are we going to take this to the next step and actually go on a date? Then like that past dating, like, okay, so it's still going good. Like, do we want to now be exclusive with one another? So like you don't date any other people, I don't date any other people, we're only dating each other. Like you have to actually define that because that's not a given either.
And while we're talking about that definition, I have something that was forwarded to me the other day, and I've been kind of circling this around. So let me just go through this with you, and
Okay.
then we can determine if this is something that is true or. So hang on. Where
Okay,
is
so
it?
while you find that, I'll tell you my little anecdote because I was mentioning that I had one.
Yeah.
So one of the things I took was a speech writing class one time, and we had to like do things where they gave you a topic and you had to research it next day, just do a presentation on it, and it was to get you to do like public speaking. And so for some reason I picked thimbles, and so I ended up researching thimbles and the story behind thimbles. And if you ever watch Peter Pan, when Peter Pan tries to give Wendy a thimble, right? And what that meant. And so that actually comes from an actual thing. So back in the day, it was the original promise ring. So if you were going off to war, you didn't want to propose to someone or like say like, hey, let's get married when I get back because you're going off to war. You don't know if you're going to come back. So what they would do was they would give you a thimble of a promise that when I come back, I want to marry you and court you and all that stuff. So basically what happened is if you did come back from war, the thimble, you would cut off the end and that would become your wedding band.
Wow.
Yeah. I love thimbles now, by the way. So you can actually get like really intricate design ones because they actually became your wedding ring.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we go into these kind of new age ideas of what dating is, so again, and I talk a lot about this because I consider myself to be like a new age traditionalist, if that makes sense, right? So I pull a lot of my value standards from tradition,
Okay.
but I also am very new age. So again, when I'm going out on a date with somebody, I'll say, well, what do you think courting is? And so I kind of pull from tradition, whereas, because we're Indigenous women, what I know is that back in the day, if a man wanted a girl, he would court her family. So this happened over like a 3 to 5 year like time frame. So I mean, the guy obviously would start very young and build a relationship with the father, then with the mother, and then the grandparents, and really like go to hunt and gather and to provide and bring to the family, and without him even getting close to the girl ever. Because I mean, in those days, the family structure was so strong, and in order to get to the children, in a sense, is to kind of go through all of those different things, right? Which is really interesting to me. So my expectation, I think, like, is really high because of that. Because I believe, there's a community around us. And so when someone says, you expect so much, and it's like, my family's so important to me, even if like I don't act like it, it's like, okay, if you're not chums with my family, or you didn't ask my dad, like, those things mean a lot to me, so again, I have those very old-fashioned, like, it's like, what do they say, like, you would bring you a horse, or like, there's different things, different protocols that are put in place.
Yeah.
What are your understandings of those like old age or historical ways of courting? Do you have any knowledge on that?
No, and like both my parents, like when they met, they were friends first. So even though they were married for 30 years and eventually, well, they first got separated and then eventually got divorced because my dad got remarried. Even during their breakup, they were always friends. They were always cordial. You know, they believed that children come first. Like they had shared values. So, and I think that was one of the things that both my parents said, that like at the end of the day, we were friends first.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we decided that we no longer wanted to be together anymore, they like mutually did that as friends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. There's just so many things that kind of go into it. And that's a huge thing, right? Because it's like, not only are you dating
Mm-hmm.
and building a life with this person, you have to think about, okay, so this is going to be my children's father, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is going to be, you know, like my partner and like my it's just so many things. And what I've heard a lot, and we're going to go into this, but it's like a lot of people now believe in like polygamy, which is like I have multiple dudes for multiple things, right? So like I have my one man that I go to like for like my money. I go to my other guy for like the fun parts, right?
I don't know if that's polygamy though.
Is it?
No. Polygamy is if you have more than one wife.
Right.
There's a different term if you're a woman and have more than one husband.
Right. But again,
Yes.
even with that,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't think it's like you're entering the union of marriage or commitment. But again, it's a new thing now that I find a lot of women are doing, which is they have multiple men for multiple purposes, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, and to be honest, I was doing a lot of research down in and working with a Pakani Blackfoot community and looking into their research, and they had multiple wives too. So there are actually other also Indigenous communities that back in the day before colonization, they also did have multiple partners and multiple wives and multiple husbands and.
But see, and that's the tricky part, because I mean, with my ex-husband, he, you know, Turkish men had multiple wives as well. And so I'm like, okay, but let's talk about this. I'm like, are you having sex with all of these women? Or like, what is this about? And he was like, it's not about the sex. It's about, the women needed somebody to take care of them. And so the men, if he had the means to, would be able to take care of these multiple women, but that didn't mean that he like engaged sexually with them. And I'm like, you know, and when I went
You're
to
telling
Turkey,
me you have
yes,
two wives, you
yeah,
are not
I'm like,
sleeping with both of them?
No,
Come
right?
on.
Yes,
We're not born yesterday.
See, well, that's the thing, and I'm like, okay, if you're gonna do that, I'm gonna do that, right? And then it's like, well, what's the point then? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, we talked about this before too. I talked about it that like for me, I've never been in a really serious committed relationship as an adult. I've never done it. And for me, I think I could be jealous. So for me, I wouldn't expect things of other people that I wouldn't expect of myself. And to me, I know that the jealousy would get to me and I wouldn't be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like I'm so loyal and so like
Yeah, me too.
giving of myself that just wouldn't fly. Like I can't share you with anybody, and to like, it's just too many things. Like, no, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Me neither. Like no way. It's not.
So when I went to Turkey and I
Yeah.
met my new family, that was one of the things they said was like, one of the wives came to me and she's like, so like, would you be able to like handle or be okay with your husband having multiple wives? And I'm like, no, right? Like, no. And yeah, so it's interesting because the culture and, you know, again, even that is what I've also read about Indigenous tribes was, you know, they had multiple wives, but yeah, no, I'm not okay with that.